Welcome to Building Your Confidence as an Artist. I'm a workshop that is geared to help you consider different ways confidence impacts your career. We'll go over what that looks like and what that means possibly throughout this workshop. My name is Luther Hughes. My pronouns are they, them, and I am a program co-director at Artist Trust. Like you all, I'm also an artist. I'm a poet and editor, and I was born and raised in Seattle, Washington. And so let's get started. No time to waste here. At any point in time, you are more than welcome to come off camera, come on camera and, engage in that way, but you're perfectly fine with being off camera and kind of listening there. So before we get started, we're going to do some acknowledgements, our land and labor acknowledgement. For our land acknowledgement, we acknowledge that we do statewide work, and that work is on the land stolen from Native and Indigenous people. Our office, our distress office, is on Duwamish land, and I too am currently on Duwamish land and Coast Salish land. Recognize that they were the first people here and were forced to move. Understanding our place in history and understanding how we can better support Indigenous communities is ongoing work. And then for our labor acknowledgement, which comes from Sean Wu, we acknowledge that we benefit from the prosperity of the United States, which was built on the labor of enslaved people. Please join me in expressing our deepest respect and gratitude for the descendants of those who built this country. Just some background about Artist Trust. We are a not-for-profit fundraising organization focused on supporting the livelihood of artists across the entire state of Washington. So not just in King County, Puget Sound, but across the entire state. And we do this through workshops like these, through webinars, community conversations, and our big one, which would be grants. We were founded in 1986 and awarded things happening started in 1987, which means we're around for about 35 years. Some of our values, these values were actually created in partnership with a cohort of artists. So again, thinking about artists and how artists do really push us forward as an organization to make sure we're servicing artists in the best possible way. So we are a community. We see artists as leaders. We share power and resources. We earn trust and we engage and continue learning. And all of these values have a more in-depth definition of what that looks like for Artist Trust that you can find on our website if you're so curious about what that means for Artist Trust. So today's workshop will go over a number of things. What is confidence? Identifying your strengths and weaknesses, a writing exercise or two, finding your voice, knowing your worth, developing your brand, and ending, of course, with any questions or comments you all want to throw out there after the workshop. So what is confidence? So it's a noun, and according to Google, love, love, love Google. Google's my best friend. Confidence is a feeling of self-assurance arising from one's appreciation of one's own abilities and qualities. Seems straightforward, right? So now that we kind of have this definition, we're all here to kind of think about what confidence is. Let's maybe throw out some definitions in the chat. What are some ways for that you all think about confidence? How do you all see confidence as a definition? What are you curious about the word confidence? Let's just throw it in the chat and see what y'all are thinking so far. How do you all define confidence? Again, feel free to throw it in the chat. Feel free to even come off of mute and say it out loud if you want. But how do you all define confidence? Confidence helps artists take risks. Yeah, I love that. Self-acceptance, Yes, it's also something that can be perceived by others in physical manifestation. Yes, self-honoring. Yes, love the word honor. Having the drive and being able to move forward. Yes, I love that. All right, feel free to keep going. We're just going to continue on here with confidence. So, how do you know when someone is confident? Confidence can look, sound, and feel different and feel like different things to different people, right? 'Cause we're all individuals. So, it's important to kind of check in with yourself and not base your confidence on others, people's confidence, right? It's all about yourself. And that's self-honoring, as someone said earlier. But there are some ways we can tell when someone is confident. So someone's tone or voice is a sure way to tell if someone is confident. Usually they're speaking at a reasonable level, their voice is stern but calm, or they're not talking too fast or too slow, just depending on who they are as a person. I for sure am a fast talker by nature, and so that doesn't look like that for me, but others do talk at a regular speed, and you can tell that's kind of how they kind of exude confidence. Body language is important as well. Is the person fidgeting? That's usually a way to to appear less confident. Are they sitting or standing straight and moving your hands appropriately? I also am a hand talker, so that for me, that's a way for me to exude confidence in different ways. But others might be more settled and more stern in their posture, which is perfectly fine. And having that eye contact, more appropriate facial expressions as a way to gauge one confidence. And so really, really, really it's more than just, a feeling, but there are physical manifestations of ways to even define or even look at confidence or even measure confidence. So, another question to you all, how do you feel when you're confident, right? We talked about, facial expression, body language, all of these things talking, at a really stern and calm tone. But how do you feel when you're confident? What does your body feel like? What does your mind feel like? What emotions do you exude when you know you're confident? And again, feel free to throw that in the chat or even come off mute if you so please. I feel grounded. Oh, I like that. Yeah, I like that a lot. Easier, quicker to laugh. Yeah, for sure. When I'm in a really good confidence feeling, I love a laugh and I can feel really just like able to like laugh about any and everything if appropriate. Clear-headed and focused. Yes, agreed, agreed. In the flow. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. Yeah, when you're feeling confident, you're really, really into what you're doing, right? You almost seem unshakable, unmovable. Okay, so why is confidence important as an artist? So there are many, many ways why it's important to have confidence as an artist. Having confidence will help you really grow your reach and network. It'll help you find new opportunities from places and people you haven't even considered before. So a big reason why confidence is important is because of opportunities related to money and compensation, of course, right? When you're confident, you apply to more grants, more residencies, more fellowships, and whatever else comes along with being an artist in a monetary way. It can also put you in front of people who you want to exhibit your work with, where you want to publish or support your work on a larger scale. So the more confidence you exude, the more confidence you find yourself, you'll be able to really put yourself out there and really, really engage with folks and opportunities in ways that you haven't before, right? Talking to people you've never met before, talking about your work more often, just having an overall better experience when it comes to um, establishing yourself as an artist and really, really growing your network. And it can also push you to develop your work more. Someone said when you're confident, you take more risks. I think that's very, very true. You want to experiment more, take more risk, and you ask yourself the harder questions a lot more, right? You want to continue to grow your own creative practice and grow your own talent and skill as an artist. So being confident allows you to push, push, push yourself and not kind of settle into what you know you're good at, right? Taking risk is a big one as an artist because without risks, you cannot, further your career and further your practice. So it really, really is important to have that confidence as an artist in those different ways. So identifying your strengths and limitations. As human beings, we all have our strengths as well as our limitations. And as an artist, it feels like they are a hundredfold, right? And so talking about what does it mean to identify these things and how you can use these things to help build your confidence and therefore develop your practice as an artist. So what is a strength and what is a limitation? Sometimes defining your strengths is difficult, right? Especially when it comes to being an artist. Think of your strength as character traits or and capabilities that help you prioritize unique insight and solve problems better. Or in other words, strengths are personal. And with this, you're able to lean on your own insight when faced with opportunities. Limitations seems to be easier to define just because the human nature spirit is wanting to always prioritize what you can't do over what you can do. So there are types of restrictions, whether mental, physical, or emotional. Limitation can stop us from creating usually, right? Again, getting in your own head about what you can and cannot do, getting in your own head about, what others are doing and not focusing on your own strengths. And so these are the things kind of that can either stop us from growing or to help us grow, knowing what these things are. Both our strengths and limitations change over time, and when reflected upon correctly, can help us develop as artists and as humans. Humans grow, we grow. It's a natural part of being a human. So therefore, of course, your strengths grow and your limitations also grow because of your own personal and artistic growth. So again, really thinking about how you can use these two binaries to really, really help you grow as an artist. This is just a nice little tool I pulled from positive psychology to think about your strengths. Again, you're going to get this presentation in a recording. I can also send you this presentation itself as a PDF, but these are some cool strengths that they pull from here. So I'm curious, which of these words resonates with you all? Feel free to put them in the chat. What words seem interesting to you? What words do you identify with? What words do you wish you were? And then put them in the chat, maybe 3 to 5 words. Learning, yeah, perspective, yeah, zest is a fun one. Gratitude, creativity, love, appreciation, and beauty of excellence. Yeah, gratitude, curiosity, empathy, love to learn, curiosity, learning, beauty, preservation. Yes, perseverance. Yes. Okay, so oh, Noor, yes, kindness, spirituality, curiosity, honesty. Yeah, so there are a number of different things, different ways to identify strengths, right? I love forgiveness as a strength, right? I think that's a really curious one for me. I'm just given what does it mean to use forgiveness as a way to kind of elevate your own characteristics and being and how you can tie that to, what does it mean to fail and forgive yourself, right? Using that as a strength to move forward, right? Humor, prudence, perseverance. Yeah, thank you. These are all great. These are all wonderful. So let's think about, how can I as an artist use my strengths? So we talked about, confidence, strengths, limitations a little bit. So let's talk about how you can use them to your benefit. So first off, you want to focus on your strengths more than your limitations. Reflect on times you feel confident and think about what strengths you exhibited to bring on this confidence. Reflect on what you were doing, what you were wearing, and the environment you were in. Who was in the room? Was the room loud? Was it quiet? How did you stand? What was your posture? What was your tone if you were speaking? What was your listening skills like? And reflecting is a good way to focus on your strengths. Sometimes building a routine helps. Many people have daily tasks or mantras, exercises, or creative processes that help them highlight or develop their strengths. For example, my therapist told me, hey, whenever you feel bad about something, remove that negative thought and say something positive about yourself, right? So again, really thinking and reflecting on what's good in your life, what's good you have going, more than why you're feeling bad or limiting yourself in some ways. Creating a task or a mantra is also pretty good, like, hey, like feeling like, I'm creative, I will keep going, right? Something like that can really eventually kind of digest into your own body, and then you can actually reverberate without your entire life and throughout your day. So really having those daily mantras, even those tasks can help you, right? What does it mean to have a task every day that focuses on your strength versus your limitations? Think about what makes your work unique. Each of us carries with us a unique and personal experience that reflected in our art. How has your experiences helped you develop your work? If this proves difficult, team up with a friend. Do an exercise together where you bounce ideas off of each other. Ask your friend what makes your work unique. Ask social media. Ask a mentor or anyone you trust, right? This doesn't have to be a solo exercise or a solo experience. You can talk to other people who are also struggling with this or not struggling with this. Maybe ask them, hey, you seem really confident. How is that possible? Or hey, when you did that artist talk, you seem like you're really on it. What are ways in which that you did to make sure you felt confident? So you're not alone in this. Every artist goes through this idea of lack of confidence and focusing on limitations. So it's good to help yourself by talking with others about how they did it, asking them, hey, what's going on? I'm trying to do this for my work. Where do you see confidence in my work? What are the strengths in my work? If you trust them, I believe they'll be able to answer you right off the bat. Or they might be ask you more questions like, hey, why don't you see confidence in your work? And it allows some really um, beneficial dialogue between you and a friend to help each other grow confidence in community building and networking, right? So it's pretty exciting. Also, there's social media. We have that for a reason, right? Maybe ask social media like, hey, hey y'all, I am thinking about doing this. I'm feeling really stifled right now. What does confidence mean to you? How do you gain confidence? How do you look for confidence? And so don't be afraid to use all of your channels that you have to really help you build a certain confidence level and to help you build a better way to think about your own work and yourself when it comes to confidence in your artistry. And as I mentioned before, understanding your strengths can help you push and develop your creativity and therefore your work. When it comes to working, comes to artistic practice, it is an exhausting and emotional thing sometimes to create your work, and it can feel like you cannot move forward based off of any number of reasons, right? And so, really thinking about your strengths and why you feel confident when you do can help you remove the kind of the stress of creativity, the stress of the process, and the idea of failing, right? Again, forgiving yourself as a sense of confidence, right? Knowing that everyone fails, right? Knowing that if you don't fail, you can't grow your own practice, right? And so really understanding ways to flip limitations into strengths and allow those flippings to push your work forward, to push you forward. So of course, talking about how to identify your limitations. Again, as an artist, you have both strengths and limitations, and both can be used for your benefit. So, of course, let's talk about what does it mean to identify limitations. So, one way, again, is to reflect on them and to watch your thoughts. When you begin diving into what you can't do, ask yourself, what about this makes me think I can't do it? Why do I think I can't? Who's telling me I can't do it? This helps you build self-awareness around your own thoughts, your emotions, and around your artistic practice. Another way is to look at your practice or habits in a healthy way. Having habits is natural as human beings and as artists, right? And it makes us, again, human. Sometimes, though, not all habits are healthy for your creative processes. Think about which ones fuel you and which distracts from your work and process. For example, I love R&B music. I love it so much. However, I cannot play R&B music when I'm writing a poem. It distracts me because I want to sing along, I want to groove, like I want to get into their old thing. So whenever I write, I make sure I have no music playing because again, it distracts me, right? So really thinking about certain habits and tasks and processes and which one works for you. For example, a positive one for me when I write is to kind of gather books around me that I think are already successful at that topic, right? And kind of have them in the room with me to kind of feel that community space, right? And so that works for me in my process, and it helps me to identify my limitations, and my strengths. So really thinking and reflecting on what works for you, right? And what doesn't work for you, right? Because again, that doesn't part is a limitation into your creative process. It might not be healthy to linger on those things. Sometimes even using a journal or recording yourself on your phone is a way to track your own thoughts. Having a record of what you're thinking can help with reflection and self-awareness. There is this wonderful new journal app on iPhones, on Apple, that is a journal that you can kind of allow it to kind of almost track what you're doing and then prompts you into writing about what has happened to you. And so that's a good way, right? A passive way for you to keep a journal that's prompted for you to do so, right? Other ways, though, is maybe recording, your creative process session. If you're in a studio, prop up your camera on your phone and see what you're kind of doing throughout your process, what's working for you, what's not working for you. So allow the tools you have to really help you understand what is distracting you and what's pushing you forward. And once again, talk to a friend. A friend is there because they're there to support and help you. Ask your friend, hey, throughout your processes, what works for you? How do you know something doesn't work for you, right? Again, tapping into your personal networks is going to really, really help you think more holistically about your limitations and therefore your strengths. So finding your voice. I'm going to look at what that means, what your voice is, just a little bit about how that can help you, again, kind of to build confidence in yourself as an artist and in your overall practice. So what is my voice? Your voice represents your personality, ideologies, characteristics, and more portrayed through your art. Sometimes our voice can develop over time as we as humans develop over time and grow from day to day. Every artist's voice is unique to them. Your voice is created based on your background, your influences, your environment, and also your artistic field. This is why it's important not to compare your voice to another's or your work to another's, because, like I mentioned earlier in the workshop, everybody is uniquely who they are, which means their art is uniquely theirs. What makes your work and your voice unique is what makes you you. So again, thinking about voice and how your own voice can really benefits when it comes to building your own confidence because again, your voice is yours and nobody else's, and therefore comparing your work, your voice to others doesn't necessarily make the most sense, right? So really focusing in on what makes you unique and what makes your art unique. So, what does it mean then to find your voice? So, just because your voice is uniquely you doesn't mean it's always easy to recognize what your voice is and your voice in general. So, with thinking about your voice or how it came to be, first think about what makes you unique. What does your art say about you? What is your background? What is your vision for your art? What are your goals for your art? Right? So, a good question to consider. How have these things and your influences helped you shape your art? Ask yourself, why do you even make art? What do you hope to gain from creating and say the project you're working on, or the projects you're working on? A lot of these things can help you create an artist statement for sure when applying for grants. And if you already have one, I encourage you to revisit the artist statement and pull out things that make you unique. For myself, for example, what makes I think my work unique? I am a born and raised Seattleite, and I love crows. Seattle has so many crows. It is amazing. So what makes me unique as a Seattleite is my obsession with crows in my work and how crows can symbolize multiple different things when it comes to being born and raised in Seattle, right? I mean, so thinking again about what makes your work unique and how you can kind of grow that unique thing into other things. I like crows, and therefore that grown to liking birds in general. And so now look at all kinds of different birds because of that one thing that has helped me develop my work over time. And so really, again, thinking about your voice and your uniqueness, knowing your worth. A lot of this comes from an artist, D.A. Novoti, who taught a workshop with us 2 years ago about knowing your worth. And so some of this content comes from a lot of their content about knowing your worth. So what is worth and how do I identify my worth? Worth is such a weird word, right? It can be tied to monetary value, it can be tied to perceptional value, it could be tied to all these things. And so we're going to kind of think about briefly what this means and how it can be measured and why that's important for building confidence. So it's measured depending on the context, the person, one's background, experiences, influences, inspiration, all these things can help you define this idea of worth. According to Google, again, a good friend Google, worth is the value equivalent to that of someone or something under consideration, the level at which someone or something deserves to be valued or rated. So this definition, it's a bit dense, I think. But some words that kind of come out of the definition are value and rated. So to understand what type of worth you're dealing with, you think about the following ways. So research, right? Research is big as an artist in any capacity, whether that's me Googling everything or that's going out to taking a walk in the park to look at some trees, right? Research can be seen different ways, right? So as an artist, it's important to do your research. If you're applying for a grant, Research the organization. If someone reaches out to you about a show publication, research the show publication. If someone asks you to do an exhibit, research exhibits they've done in the past. So research, research, research. Researching can allow you to think about your own worth in the context of the opportunity, right? If they have a high, robust, and high quality exhibits on paint or painting dogs, and you're like, oh my gosh, I actually paint dogs too, your worth might be more considered with the value of what they're looking for. Or say you paint cats. Your worth can be, your worth can be defined as a way for them to grow their expertise in certain things. And so really thinking about your worth in the context of the opportunity that is given to you in the context of, all the different things that are around that research. Also, talk to other artists in your field. You are not the first artist working in your field to look for opportunities, to be solicited for opportunities, to think about your own worth. Talk to the other artists in your field specifically. For me, this helped me a lot when I was trying to get published. My book got published. I was like, hey, friend, I have a contract. What is this? Can you let me know what's important in this? Am I getting my money's worth? Are their money's worth? Am I getting, the amount of promotion I need from this book that they're going to publish? So that was able to help me understand and go back and be like, hey, I want to adjust these things in this contract. And they understood because it aligned with how others did their contracts, right? And so asking artists those questions, it's weird sometimes, right? Asking artists about specific business things because you feel like that's outside of um the priority of an artist, but understanding what other artists have went through and are going through in your field then allows you to think about your own worth when it comes to, again, these opportunities, because it's not fun to get slighted based off of not knowing how to make sure your worth is valued. And as an artist, your worth is valued and you should be seen as valuable because you are great at what you do. Trial and error, it's a big one. Again, as an artist, you have to take risk, and sometimes those risks pay off, and sometimes they don't. But if you forgive yourself for the times they don't, say, you know what? I took a risk. That is benefit enough. Now I know next time what to do, and I therefore have more worth and more value in that next opportunity. The same can be said about worth. When approached with an opportunity, or even if you want to pitch a project, just try it and see what happens. Sometimes pitches don't go through. Sometimes opportunities fall through the cracks and don't, continue on to implementation. That's fine. But doing those things, taking that step, trial and error allows for the next time something comes to you, you have the knowledge, and that knowledge can help you have a higher value in the conversation and have a better worth in the conversation. Intuition, trust yourself. If something feels off, ask more questions, do more research, but overall, trust your gut. As an artist, our intuition is probably a lot higher than most folks, right? So trust your intuition. There's no need to do something if it feels icky or strange, or you're like, I'm not sure. Ask her questions, ask an artist, ask a friend, do more research. There's no need for you to enter a situation that seems weird and uncomfortable. And again, having that intuition allows yourself to say no to things that don't value you, right? That don't put your worth as a priority. So again, trust that intuition and do self-reflection. Think about the experiences you've had and your expertise. Think about the time that you felt really valuable, right? What did that look like? What was the opportunity? How did you feel, right? How were you speaking? What was your voice like? What was that their voice like, right? Think about those experiences that you really thrived in and use those assets of thriving and apply them to every other opportunity, right? Again, no need to put yourself in a place where you don't feel valued. And the more you self-reflect on when you felt valued, the bigger you're going to see yourself as confident and the more your worth kind of increases when it comes to these opportunities. As an artist, your experiences really, really do matter. So why is my worth even important as an artist? What about my worth can help me grow and develop. So knowing your worth helps you create really, really healthy boundaries. It opens the doors for new opportunities. It develops your creativity and your business savvy, overall growth and understanding of your field, and helps you build confidence. The creating healthy boundaries is a big highlight and a big thing because, again, if you do not understand your own worth, you will tend to, I think, myself included, have done this, you will tend to blur the lines of what can be done to you and for you and what you agree to and not agree to, right? The lines become blurry, becomes gray, you don't know what's happening, and you can be taken advantage of. And therefore, those boundaries are no longer healthy, and opportunity and that bridge is kind of like horrible, broken, all those things, right? And so if you know your worth, you're able to say, like, hey, you know what? I actually don't work on the weekends. Let's pick this back up on Monday. That was my big one. I was a hardcore working every day type of person for my art. And then I said, you know what? I'm out of the office on Sundays. There's no time for me for emails. I'm relaxing. I'm enjoying myself. That's me time to kind of refresh and kind of re-envision the week for myself. Creating those boundaries, I was able to tell them, hey, I'm worth more than a last minute email, right? I'm worth more than um your misorganization, right? I deserve to be working with someone who's organized. And so really creating those boundaries will help you understand your worth, and then it helps you grow your confidence, right? The more you know what to say yes to and what to say no to, build your confidence when working with people, and people can see like, oh, you know what you're doing and what you're talking about, and they know how to then respect you because of the confidence you exude by knowing your worth. This is just a visual of different types of worth, and how they intersect with each other. As artists, there's sometimes these two larger buckets, right? Monetary worth are things tied to money and funding, and creative work, things about, your own practice and artistry. For monetary worth, of course, there is a skill set worth, right? And a resource worth. Your skill set, which is really about, the transferable skills to grow your own wealth, right? What can you apply to different avenues of income that can help you kind of grow your own funding and grow your own money and income? The creative worth is something that I think artists tend to thrive more in, right? Social worth, what does that mean to kind of create a network and a community and all those things that are tied to your practice and your own community and field. That motivational work, how are you talking to yourself about your own practice? Again, forgiving yourself and building the confidence and building your strengths. That physical worth. It's less about the body, but about the space to develop your craft. Do you have that space? Do you have an office? Do you have a studio? Do you have room to kind of develop your actual craft itself? And then business worth is kind of the intersection of both monetary worth and creative worth, right? The idea of applying for grants, understanding contracts, applying for fellowships, residencies, understanding taxes, and basic application materials that can help you with creative worth and also monetary worth. So again, just kind of an image of what these things look like, because I think it is important to kind of see where worth can land and where worth can be even developed even more for yourself. So developing your brand. What is a brand? A brand represents who you are, your goals, and your creative practice. Your brand can be shown visually, auditorially, or through words. Your brand doesn't need to be overly complex or complicated, right? But it should be consistent and should easily define and communicate who you are as an artist. When building your brand, think of both your physical and online presence. Your brand should be aligned in both places. Some things to think about when it comes to your brand are simple things like fonts, colors, themes you work with, your own voice, language you use, packaging, your website, social media, business cards. All these things can have a consistent packaging to think about building and developing your own brand. Like your voice, your brand is unique to you. It should distinguish yourself from other artists. And again, it can be down to simple things like color schemes or, the language you use to talk about your work and your projects. and make developing your brand fun. Yes, it is tied to the idea of monetary worth. It can bring in opportunities, but it should be fun to, think about how you can package yourself, right? It could be fun to think about how you can kind of play with color schemes and all these different things to kind of make you who you are. It should tell your story. It shouldn't exhaust you to develop your brand. It should be fun for you. And then, like your tone of your voice, start by thinking about what makes you who you are or what makes your own art unique. Another visual. We have who am I? What is my practice? And who do I want to attract? So these things have intersection. When it comes to who am I and who do I want to attract, you think about your audience and your community, right? And your networking. When it comes to who am I and your practice, that's your goals and your vision, right? Why do you do work, right? What's going on with that? Your practice and your audience comes to networking and marketing. So all these things in collaboration create your brand, right? All these things kind of help you develop who you are. And the better your brand is developed, the more confidence you'll have in your practice and when talking about your work to others. And so remember, confidence building is a skill that can be encouraged, developed, and maintained, right? Just because you feel confident, one part in your life, one sector, one show doesn't mean you're then confident for the rest of your life, right? It's a constant skill of reflection, a constant skill of, value and worth building, a constant skill when it comes to the creation of your work, the showcasing of your work. And so it's not a one time fits all, it's the continuing um, thing to kind of think about and really, really develop as you, as a human being, as an artist, develop. So, any questions about anything that we kind of went over today about what you're thinking of? That journal app, I think it's just called Journal on iPhone. I think it's really just called Journal. Um, and it might already even be, if you have an iPhone, I think it's probably already in your iPhone. I think they like had an update and then it was there. Um, but if not, I would say go to your Apple store, or for those who have Android, it could also be a journal app in your Play Store. Yeah, any questions? Any questions, comments, things people want to share, either about, what they have in their worksheet, or just questions from me about confidence building and where that aligns with, your own artistic practice. You can throw it in the chat, or you can come off mute and say it if you want to.
Hi, I have a question.
Hi, yeah.
Um, so I am on the spectrum. I'm neurodivergent, so eye contact is really difficult for me. Um, do you have any like ways of getting around that, or I don't know, like how to make it easier, I guess? It's always been a problem.
Yeah, I would say instead of trying to, excuse me, trying to make that specific thing be a tell that you're confident. Maybe the tell is telling folks when you're talking to them, hey, by the way, I'm neurodivergent, I have trouble with eye contact, right? And then that then allows them to rethink what it means for them for someone to have confidence, and also exudes your own confidence in your own self, right? And your own self-awareness. And so I would say, instead of trying to make that work for you, make them work for you, right? And again, that can also help you build your worth, right? When you're saying like, I am this, I have these things, I have these limitations, it then exudes a confidence in your own self-awareness. Does that help, Roxy?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that question. That's good. Other questions about anything, I suppose. Okay. Well, I'm going to share my screen one more time. If any questions arise, here is my contact information. My email is luther@artisttrust.org. Once again, this will be sent to you within 2 weeks, both the recording of this workshop and also the slides for your own review. And for more workshops like these, feel free to, of course, follow us on social media, subscribe to our newsletter. That's where we kind of share upcoming programs and upcoming opportunities that relates to artists. And yeah, again, thank you all for being here. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Thanks, y'all.